Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the CEO Leading In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of CEO Lead In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today, we are here with Katy Temple. She is the CEO of Katy Temple Media Coaching. And Katy, you have a pretty interesting story. I'd like for you to share a little bit about how you started this company and where you came from.
Thanks, Rebecca, for being here, and thanks for saying that. I founded my business, Katy Temple Media Coaching, 5.5 years ago. And what I'm doing is working with executives who want to be great on camera. And as we know, the cameras are everywhere. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, creating videos, talking to the media, whatever it is, and the cameras around, doing things on your iPhone, whatever it is, that's what I'm helping. I'm helping these executives be the best versions of themselves whenever the camera's around. And the reason that I know that I can help is because my first love was sports. And for 25 years, 25 plus, I was a sportscaster, broadcaster, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. And I had a lovely, terrific, satisfying, fun career that was also hard, humiliating, and challenging. And I never stopped loving it. And so now I really want to support these executives to be the best version of themselves when that camera is on.
Well, it's true. The camera is very daunting. The first time I actually was on camera, I was thinking, can I even do this? And honestly, a lot of it is just repetition, being on there time after time, and also having a little bit of grace for yourself. When you foul up, it's okay, because guess what? It's human.
It's human, and it's live. I tell my clients, this is live.
That's right. That's right. And you can't be too hard on yourself because, we are imperfect. So I have a question. As far as a word that you have for yourself, what do you think is one word that describes yourself?
That's a great question, a tough one. Resilience.
For sure. And bold. I would say bold, too. You're rocking the red lipstick. Girl, you are on fire. You're just this big personality of, hello, I'm Katy. I'm here to chat with you and rile this place up. I love it. You really have a lot of energy. I love that. And energetic would be one, too, that I would use for you.
I love that. I'll take that. I'll take energetic.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about success and failure, because I think, a lot of women that I speak to, a lot of people that I speak to on a regular basis, they think, well, you can't really, you're going to fall, of course, but it's best to fall forward. And so tell me what that difference of success and failure, and maybe share something if you have a short story to share with us. What do you think about that?
Well, for your listeners that are sports fans, they'll be familiar with Wayne Gretzky, the great one, who said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I've always seen life through sports because I was a tomboy. And for me, when you think about it, athletes fail all the time, especially in baseball. If you're really good, if you're a really good hitter, you're hitting 300, which is 3 out of 10. And in life, that's not a great stat. And so that's what I really like to remember. And it's what I always remember. And from starting with the sportscasting, which is where I'm able to authentically empower my clients, is, listen, I'm learning a new skill set and I'm being watched not only by an audience, but my colleagues and my bosses. And I started off a lot of positions very green and awkward and made a lot of mistakes that a lot of people saw. a lot of times people don't make mistakes that a lot of people saw, and I did, and I heard it. I heard people judging my boss for hiring me because they didn't think I belonged there. Obviously, I heard feedback from audiences, and I just wanted it, and I was focused, and I knew that if I kept at it, I was going to be better, much like you said earlier, which is consistency and practice.
Right. Yep. Well, so that kind of leads me to, men, and, you are in a men's world. I mean, sports is mostly men. I mean, there are definitely women's sports, but they don't get the outreach and the all the attention that the men's sports get. So tell me, have you had any issues with men going, oh, look at her, she's cute and bubbly and friendly and a big, bold personality? Have you felt resistance in that?
Yes, my whole life. And that was okay because I started, my first on-air job was in Fresno, California in 1996. And I was doing a coaches show where I was producing, editing, and hosting a coaches show with Jerry Tarkanian, who's a legendary NCAA basketball coach. And my point to that is that this was a while ago where it was less acceptable for women to be around, and always thinking that women were in sports to meet professional athletes. And a lot of comments about, wow, you know something about sports, where they were surprised. And a lot of people have said to me, what does it feel like being a woman in a man's world? And my response is, I don't know any other way. I don't know what it's like to be a man, so I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that I wanted to be a sportscaster because, to your point, there were no professional leagues that I could try to be good at. And I loved sports, so I decided I just wanted to talk about them. All of the criticism and the judgment I got, and sometimes it really bothered me and sometimes it didn't. It just kind of depended on the source or where I was. And it's so nice to see the way that there are so many female broadcasters these days, and women just being, I love it when I can meet a woman and just have a conversation about sports. We're talking about the Padres right now being in the postseason. I'm obsessed with postseason baseball, and it's fun when you meet women that just can talk about sports, and it's not rare anymore. And that's what I love.
Okay, I'm just going to have to say it. Jake Cronenworth, his batting average during the regular season and postseason. Wow.
Yes,
wow.
And that's the beauty of the postseason. And that's, you think about it, we all know this, the Dodgers and the Mets, they won 100+ during the regular season, and the Padres came in and beat them. And when this podcast is being recorded, the Phillies game 1, Phillies-Padres is tonight. And that's the beauty of sports. They were coming in hot at the right time. They got a lot of production from the bottom third of their lineup. And so I'm hoping now that the guys that they paid a lot of money for, like Soto, just starts raking at the plate. But that's one of the beautiful things about sports. And it shows you an executive that wants to be better on camera may have had a tough year, but if they get into the right mindset, we can get you there. And that stands for anything: art, politics, whatever it is.
Totally. I love it. So, you make everything sound exciting.
It's because we're talking about sports, and I'm so passionate.
So what got you into that? Tell me about your role models. Was there anyone that you can point back and say, you know what, they really excited me about the game, this game or that game? I mean, was there one person, or, it could be several people, that really got you to really recognize a passion in yourself about sports?
I grew up a tomboy, and meaning I grew up in a big Irish Catholic family with a bunch of cousins, and I was the oldest. I have 2 brothers, but I was older, and then a gaggle of cousins. And every Thanksgiving and Christmas, my uncle was the patriarch. We always had Raiders games on, always football, always played I grew up in a cul-de-sac in a small town in Merced, California. A lot of playing outside, a lot of cul-de-sac sports. That was the way I was raised, and that's what I loved. And then when I started getting older, obviously all my sports role models were guys. Yeah. However, when I got older and saw Leslie Visser on TV, or I had the pleasure of collaborating and knowing Julie Foudy, for example, when I was covering sports in San Diego. But older women that were involved in sports. Susie Kolber, who's still with ESPN, she's just a little bit older than I, but old enough to where I was able to watch her. And then it became less about what the guys could do and more about what the women can do. And I literally would just take certain things from everybody. I'm not just a girl's girl or a guy's girl. I like the balance. And so I took a lot of things from men and women. But watching Leslie Visser and knowing that she could do that, and a woman named Nancy Newman who was at CNN and now she's with the Yes Network. And then I had a mentor of mine named Andrea Kirby who was a media coach years and years ago. I just took a little from everybody.
That's kind of how I am. And then you made it your own. And I think that is, one thing that a lot of women are afraid to do. Well, maybe my way of doing it is not the right thing. I honestly think that when you are true to yourself, one of my guests earlier was talking about that, being true to yourself. I think there's nothing more beautiful than, a woman, really anybody, to be honest, using their own way of doing things and taking all these little parts of leadership and, I don't really want to call it a brand, but maybe a style of all these different people, making it your own and being confident in that. And that's going to be good enough and that's going to be great. And really, when you're passionate about it, everything, like I said earlier, everything sounds so great when you're saying it. You've got me all excited. I feel all riled up and ready to go to a baseball game. But I mean, really having, a love of something and having that translate into your style is huge.
I agree, Rebecca. And I also think it's a gift, too. It's one of those things where it depending on how you were raised and what your life's been like, sometimes that's harder for some of us than others. But you are never going to be comfortable in your skin, and everybody's going to no one's going to feel comfortable in front of you if you are not being authentic. It's just the way it is, whether people are conscious of that or not. And I couldn't agree more with you on that one.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you this one. This one is... one of the things that I dislike most about just career and, all the things that we have to go through as women. I mean, it is more difficult in some ways than a man because we have this, lens on us of perfection, of this, of that, airbrush this, airbrush that. I'm 55 now and I look at, I'm not going to be 30. I'm never going to be 30 again. But let's talk about Mean Girls for a minute. Because I can't stand them. I want to encourage every woman around me. Women have something about us, and I'm not saying that men don't have something special about themselves, but women have something special about us. And it's so unique, but it's really beautiful too. And every single woman, whether they are a tiny little thing, they're more curvaceous, whatever, I think women are beautiful. And I'd like for you to share with me what you have seen as far as Mean Girls go, because I'm sure you've encountered it at some point in time. We all have. But tell me what your thoughts are about that.
I'll focus on career versus high school, obviously, which I've seen a lot of. And the career thing is hard, especially when you're doing something where there's not a lot of other women, because it can be seen as competitive and pitting people against each other. Because for a long time, it was so rare that women were in sports that you felt like if anybody else was around, they were going to take your job. And again, what I love about Progress is these young women are coming in and they're sisters. They're sisters, and they're sharing their joy and they're sharing their work. I was lucky when I was anchoring sports in San Diego. I had a couple friends that were my competitors, and we decided that we weren't going to do that. And once we got over that and saw that we could all coexist and still be great on our own stations, I think we were all relieved. And we would talk about the stories that we were doing, and they were the same athletes because we were all covering San Diego sports at the time. And I remember thinking with one of my dear friends, dang it, that was a good idea. Why didn't I come up with that? And way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go. And once that clicks, it's, you just fly. And the other thing is I'm not saying that you can't have, we all feel envy at certain times or this or that. That's not the point. The point is how you control those emotions and you switch them around quickly. And remember, her light and journey is hers and this is yours. You do you and you support her. That's the only way to go. The rest of it's going to leave some hate in your heart and you're never going to be proud of the way that you act.
Well, I'm more like you of, oh, darn, that was a great idea. I wish I would have thought of that, but good for her. I'm more that way too. And you know what? Again, we all have our different little style and way of doing things, and I think there is room for all of us at the table. So let's just talk about lessons that you would share with other women. You walk into a room, and you're like, "Hello, I'm Katy, and I want to tell you all about what I learned and what you could apply to your life that'll help you out in life, in your career."
I could go a lot of directions on this. I will say that the other day, I also mentor young women, which I'm sure you do, and I have a feeling that a lot of your guests do. And I was speaking with a young woman, and she was saying, I said, well, we were trying to figure out what she was going to do. She was trying to get an internship, and so she had these ideas, and I was giving her ideas. What about this? What about this? What about this? And she said, well, I reached out to that person, but they haven't called me or emailed me back. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. They don't have anything to gain. That's not interesting to them at all, and they're very busy, and it is your responsibility to be aggressive. And she said, yeah, but what if I'm a pain? And I said, well, they'll tell you. There's a way to do that. Figure out a cadence. Reach out every 2 weeks until they say no. It doesn't mean no. I can tell you that from personal experience of when I was climbing up the ladder in TV and the way that I would attack people. And I say that loosely, but I would bother people until they told me not to bother them anymore, people that I still have relationships with. And I know that in my position now, I'm definitely going to be more interested in a young woman or a young man that follows up when I haven't gotten back with them because I've got other things going on. And I had to explain that to her the other day, and I'm hoping that that was a light bulb for her. I want you to keep going at it because you're the one that's looking for something. And I don't know if that's traditional and old school, and maybe the new generations don't think that they quote unquote have to. However, that's their choice. But I'm saying I definitely would do that, and I would ask a lot of questions. And learn, because you really want to find your purpose and build relationships early and not make it all about you, not walk in there and say, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. It's walk in, introduce yourself, and find out about that person.
I love that. I see this in you, and what do you think about me doing something like that, and how, and try to figure that one out, because again, you know what, it's going to look different in each one of us.
Yes.
But seeing those strengths in someone else is very helpful, and to say, hey, I appreciate this about you, and especially I think a woman to a woman. I don't mean to come off as I'm definitely not sexist at all. But I think when a woman builds up another woman, there's something special about that rather than a man doing it. There's just something that makes it click a little bit more, I think. So what's next for you? What are you doing? Tell me what's on your next path moving forward.
Well, I'm going to watch as many of the Padres postseason games as possible. And I am just looking to scale. I'm going to be doing a little more speaking. I'm doing a lot of stuff in IT and biotech right now. There's a interesting phase where data-driven experts, and we love them because we need their data and we need their passion and everything that they've done to either make our lives better or even save lives. And yet they've been working here, and what they need now, because nobody told them that it's going to be better if you learn how to improve your presentation skills to get those data points across by merging story. And so I found myself doing a lot of merging data and analytics with story in order to connect with the audience business-wise. That's what's been really interesting to me.
You're evolving.
I am evolving. We all have to always evolve. My grandma said, the minute you stop making yourself better, you're done.
Well, I tell people all the time, I'm going to learn things until the day I die.
Yes.
And, 55, so I'm probably halfway there. But also, the one constant in life is always change. You can't stop it, so you've got to embrace it and figure out how you're also going to change. And so I love that you're doing that, because data is important, and big data can tell us a lot about habits and thoughts and, what people are just honestly thinking in the future, because a lot of it is predictive. Based on what's happening today, it tells us what's going to happen tomorrow. So
right, but there's the difference. It's just like in sports, if I might. Everybody's talking about the way that baseball's changed because of all the analytics, and it's smart to look at those analytics because they're proven data. However, there are the nuances.
Sure.
There are the nuances in athletes that you don't see on paper, whether it's heart or injury or certain things like that, and that's why the managers that can merge both are the best at it, and it's the same thing in life.
Right. Who knew Tatis was going to happen?
Everything was going so well, Rebecca.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a pleasure. Katy Temple with Katy Temple Media Coaching. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing I'm definitely going to have you back on, because I want to see what happens in about maybe 5 years and where you're at.
Would love it. Maybe you and I will be doing something together.
There you go. All right. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with CEO host Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.